Good evening, Super League fans and managers out there. Welcome to what's it called again? The preliminary final. Is that what we're doing today? Yep, the preliminary final. Locomotive Boston against Fulchester. As advertised, joining me in the studio this evening is Bostock manager Scott. Good evening, Scott.
Evening, Martin, Dimble, and everybody else.
Evening. And as Scott alluded to there, also joining us is Churchtown manager for the night, Dimble. Evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
And welcome to your managerial debut. Well, is it managerial debut technically in the Super League?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very nervous, very excited, and this is just a taster of it. So I can only guess what you guys go through every week.
Well, we'll see. You're up against a quality opposition, obviously tonight. So we'll see how it goes. First of all, guys, before we get into it, what I was going to ask you is the season in general. If I can ask you first, Scott. Probably not the way that you wanted it to end, but overall, your season in general compared to the first sort of experience you had with Chudley Cannons, how do you feel that it went overall?
I think it's been a good season. We finished fourth. We finished 2 points behind second place. We started off really strong. After 10 games, we were 4 points clear at the top of the league. We had an awful spell in the middle. We lost 5 on the trot, and then we started to find a little bit of form. Went through a little inconsistent spell, and then we finished unbeaten in 8. So that spell in the middle of the season probably cost us a top 2 spot, but over the course of the season, fourth was probably a fair position. And once you get into the top 6, you're always going to be facing a top side, generally in good form. And to be honest, out of all the sides that I could have faced, I faced the side that I would have least enjoyed playing. And then in terms of the playoffs, against Fulchester, 2 sides who have both been extremely strong at home, not great away. 2 sides who've been pretty solid throughout. Excuse me. And ultimately, the first leg cost us qualification, because we drew 0-0 away from home, and that should have been enough. We should have won the home leg, but credit to Chris Mack and his Fulchester side, they restricted us to creating not a great deal, and probably more surprisingly scored 2 goals at our place, which I don't think many expected. So, but yeah, overall, pleased with the result. I think we got 8 more points than I did the year before. Probably this squad is more suited to how I wanted to play in a group of players that I've assembled myself, rather than sort of taking over somebody else's squad with limited transfers. But yeah, in terms of building and moving forward, relatively happy where we are, and then we'll kick on and go again next season.
Yeah, I mean, interesting you mentioned that. I had a look actually the 4 games the 4 or 5 when you had that run of defeats there. I think you had a handful of away games in kind of sort of coming thick and fast at that point as well. And that was, I think that's what you capitalized on at the end of the season. I think you had something like 4 home games out of the last 6 or something like that, and that obviously made you jump up the ladder a little bit. But yeah, overall a very good season for you there. And Dimple, what did you make of the season? Was there any of the top 6 that surprised you, or any other observations on the season in general?
It's been quality to watch from a kind of neutral standpoint. It's been full of twists and drama, a few great collapses and turnarounds, and it's been a pretty good laugh all the way through as well. And it's just something to look forward to in a pretty shit world. So yeah, I've really enjoyed kind of being part of it from the outside. In terms of the top 6, I think they all deserve the place there. Gazelles surprised me by sneaking in at the end, but obviously they have got a good squad. So if you look at it like that, it's not too surprising. And I think a couple of those lads, Hulls and Spartak, will be very disappointed to drop out, because I think they probably deserved it over the balance of the season. But it's a cruel world.
Yeah, I think it definitely, especially for Sloth, who who reached such lofty heights with just 4 games to go. They were sitting pretty in third. I mean, your position is never really safe, but they had a bit of a spectacular fall from grace over the last couple of games there, so they would have been a little bit disappointed with that because eighth was, I mean, apart from just the beginning of the season where it's all a bit up and down, it was the lowest position really of the whole season. You can say Hools maybe, I mean, they started off very, very badly, and then kind of snuck into the playoffs and then dropped out again. So although it's also disappointing, I think it's probably Sloss is probably the ones that are feeling it the most. I would have thought after sitting in that position for so long. But yeah, it was a good season, and we're obviously looking forward to the playoffs. Rather the rest of the playoffs and and to find out who's gonna be our new champion. We obviously knew from the beginning with Ryan retiring and Bolton Phoenix not taking part this season that we're gonna have a new champion crown, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. Briefly, Scott, the team of the year nominations have been out. Any of you guys in the in there?
Yeah, I think we've just got a couple of nominations. I think Andre is in there. I'm not sure how many votes he's got. Who was obviously done exceptionally well again. Just one poor performance all season off the back of a great season last season. And then Lezarazu, who has been extremely consistent on the left hand side throughout the season. He's averaged about 7.8, 7.9 left wing back. I think that's just the only two nominations we've got in there, which, to be fair, is probably about right because, as a rule, we were pretty solid defensively, and the defense midfielders did really well, and we struggled to score goals at times.
Yeah, I was going to say in terms of goals, I mean your top scorers are on 8 and 7. It's not really it's not something that will strike fear into the heart of the of the opposition. But we'll see next season if you can get more out of them. But overall, I mean, important to have your keeper in there. Definitely one of the best performing keepers in the league. I think if we look at the player stats for the let's have a look for the goalkeepers. Although his average is only 7.48, I think he was really really steady. Maybe not having as many tens as some of the other keepers, but only, as you mentioned there, only having one or two kind of like sort of serious mix-ups. But yeah, I mean, decent performance from him, and he's in there with only well, he played 22 games. Obviously, some of them have played a lot more as well and had a bit more of a chance to increase their average. But yeah, overall decent. Dimple, from your perspective, any players that you want to highlight? I mean, David Collins, a lot was said about him, and he's obviously nominated in Pensa with all his goals. Who do you see as some of the key players this season overall?
Going through each position group, I would say Bartes is the clear winner for the keepers, in my opinion. I think Andre would be my second choice in that. I think someone like Val Harron, just because he's been a bit of a surprise for the defenders, deserves a shout out. And then I don't think you can split Zeriberto and Dyer in the midfielders. They've both been actually unplayable on the day, haven't they? So those two, and then up front you got Collins, who's scored goals, but I wouldn't say he's been the best striker of the season. So I think you're looking at Clivo and Penza. My vote would probably go to Penza just for the sheer kind of dangerous side to him. He can win a match in 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Plus, I'm sure he's 23. He's sort of streets ahead of of everyone else in terms of amount of goals scored. So not quite enough for the Devils. I mean, they're obviously feeling a little bit hard done by with that result against Fulchester there. But Fulchester, as Scott mentioned there earlier, they have kind of become experts at not conceding goals. I mean, only conceding 30 goals over a full season in the Super League is quite a feat, to be honest. Um, let's crack on with tonight's action. As advertised, we're not gonna jump straight into the main course, if if you want to call it that, into the Boston Fulchester game. We're gonna try and fire away with a couple of friendlies here. So first of all, to the managers who weren't involved in the decision making process of running this, then I can only apologize. Ryan and I decided it was a good idea, and I still think it is. Communication around it was decided at last minute, so that's just how things go. So onwards and upwards with that. The people who are involved, Champ Swan, or Swan Champ, Dimble, Mega Horse, Wooder, We've obviously got Tato in here as well, and we've got Duggan, and they've all been given a side to take charge of, and we'll see how it goes this evening, with our three guest managers who've submitted their teams just as regular managers would have done. And first up, we've got Hooligans against Haggis. So let's see what the respective managers have come up with. So I think it's Potato Mourinho who's in charge of Hooligans this evening, or who set out the tactics. Scott, what do you make of Hool's Vikings and the formation here? It's something a little bit different to what Jens normally plays, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a formation that Tato's a fan of. So I think we're probably seeing a couple of players in positions we might not normally. Liverani in left midfield, maybe even Ambrosini centre midfield, and Willie Sagnol push a little bit further forward. But Tato's picked a formation that he likes and he thinks he can work with. I think the front three of Nicky Ferenko behind Cesarco and Van Nistelrooy is extremely potent, and also the back three of Ndai, Campbell, Thuram is solid. Those two triangles going forward and defensively will be good. It'll all depend on whether that midfield four through the middle can A, help defensively, and B, contribute going forward, and link the play. For me, it's not a great midfield four, but it'd be interesting to see, because those two triangles at the top and the bottom are extremely solid.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if any of the managers take note of what is what is happening to their team in their absence, and take any inspiration for that. Hodgie asks, is anyone leaving? I don't think anyone is leaving, not that I've heard of anyway. And if you mean managers, I don't think that's the case. Just a case of giving some of our regular viewers and supporters a bit of a chance to get involved. Campbell, by the looks of things. Oh, he might be referencing players. Who knows? Um, Either way, that's how Hools line up this evening, and they're up against the Haggis Hunters. Let's see if any of these turn out to be ghost games. Man Youngish is our manager in charge of the Haggis Hunters, reading out the Twitter handles at the moment. Dimble, what do you make of what he's done to Mr. Campbell's Haggis side here? I don't think Ian's played this formation. Brosik on the right hand side. There's a few interesting selections in there. A Gat at the back.
Yeah, I think it's a team built without midfielder lefts and midfielder rights, because I know Ian doesn't like that, does he? So I think Brosek out there could be good, but probably doesn't suit him. I don't think a Gat's a centre back, although I know he can do it at times. I think in general it's pretty solid lineup though. I think you've got quality players, especially building from the back. That defensive midfield three, are absolutely amazing. Yeah, I think I like it, and hopefully if Sahar's kind of winning the ball, holding it up, and Larson and Salas are running past him, it could be very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see Brosek out on the left-hand side. I'm interested in Mendieta as well. I don't think he's got the most. I don't think anyone's really. Mendieta's not had a bad season, and he was at Hools before and didn't have a great time there. I mean, if you look at his stats, I know that we've seen on from Mr. CM Intrinsic that it's not all about the 20s, but I mean, with stats like that, 727 is. Does he play better in a different position, or is there anything else? What would you do with Mendieta?
For me, he's a centre midfielder. He probably can play defensive midfielder, but I think he's a creative centre midfielder, so I'd be playing him a bit further forward if it was me. But he should do all right out there with kind of not too much responsibility defensively. He should be able to kind of drift forward and cause some problems. But he's not a player that I properly love on the game. I think he's slightly overrated, but he's still very, very good.
Yeah, well, it will be interesting to see what he does tonight under the under under the guidance of a different manager. Not sure if it'll make much of a difference, but anyway, this is how the teams are set up. Someone hasn't set piece takers. That's fine. Either way, chaps, your predictions for this one, Scott. Do you think the Tato managed Hools will get this one, or do you think the Haggis Hunters could squeeze a win here?
I'm really intrigued to see how it pans out, because it's two formations that we've not seen from these teams this season. I think both teams have got players probably in positions that we might not see as the best and that sort of thing. But I think it's going to be tight. I think Hulls will nick it. I like the front three and I like the back three. My concern is whether that midfield four can contribute enough going forward and helping out defensively.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can. Dimple, do you have any thoughts on the potential outcome of this one? I can see that there are some, I mean, a lot of goals predicted in the comments. What do you see? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I can see kind of a 3-1 win to Hulls. I think that. Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be very tight. It could happen. I don't know if the players mentally turn up for friendlies as much as they do for league games. So it could just be a goal fest, which is what we want to see, really, isn't it?
That's what we're hoping for. Well, we'll kick this one off and see what happens in the first half as the slightly amended Hools Vikings takes on the other amended Haggis Hunters in the battle of the super fans here, the first installment of the evening. It looks as if it's Hooligans who are off to a very convincing start here with lots of chances being created. Yet to capitalize on any of them, though. Henrik Larsson apparently picked up a yellow card there early on, and it's Van Nistelrooy who opens the scoring for Hools Vikings. Breaking the deadlock with only 8 minutes on the clock. Nicky Forenko following up with a goal on 14 minutes, and it's Van Nistelrooy who makes it 3-0 after just 18. I'm not sure the Haggis Hunters are really prepared to turn out for the new manager. It would, or for the temporary manager, it would appear 3-0 at halftime. Let's have a look and see how that went. Looks like you are right, Scott. You mentioned the front three there. Seems to be doing okay for Hull's Vikings.
Yeah, the front three have created and scored the chances. The back three have shut out Haggis, and the midfield four have probably not done a great deal.
Yeah, well, we'll see how the stats are. I mean, that's pretty impressive for halftime stats. Dimble, what do you make of this formation that Hools have here? Something you'd be a fan of yourself? It seems to be getting the most out of the players.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites. I think it was the one I was using when I first ever did a stream with my. I think it was Scarborough team. I thought I was going to go the season unbeaten, and got beat on the final day of the season. I played this whole season. It does work when you've got the players in the right positions. Looking at that midfield four, I thought they might struggle a little bit with that aspect of it, but obviously I'm completely wrong there because look at the state of those ratings. And the one key thing I'd say for this formation is having a DM that performs because they're going to be very, very busy, and obviously Ndai is definitely doing that so far.
Yeah, and I mean, who got the assist? I mean, 2 assists for David Beckham and one for Fabio Liverani there. I think it's a slightly underrated formation to have this kind of line of four. I've had some success with it myself, to be honest, and you get a lot of assists from these guys in the middle with their through balls. In terms of Haggis Hunters, Scott Mendieta, we mentioned him earlier. He's not really done much to impress. Remember, managers, if you are in the chat, feel free to submit your request for any substitutions. That's obviously something that you're entitled to do as well. What do you make of it, Scott?
No, it's not been great start to finish. I think Didier got at centre back's an experiment that's not worked, so he's having a 7. Mendieta, I think. Honestly, I don't know what to do with him. I would personally, if I had him at my club, trade him for another marquee player and let someone else try and figure it out. Same issue throughout the season with Haggis in that the forward players have been shite. Not very impressive from Mr. Duggan, unfortunately.
No, I mean, no point in dwelling on it. Chris Mack says he'll have Mendieta, so we'll see if anything comes out of that. Obviously, I think Ryan issued a complete ban on transfer talk until the end of the season, but there we go. No subs, says the manager. So let's kick off the second half and see if Hull's Vikings can continue their dominant display, or if the Haggis Hunters can find a way back into that. It's gone back to thingy speed again, hasn't it? Patrick Vieira didn't really have as much of an impact this time round as he did. Oh, there's Van Nistelrooy with his hat trick. Didn't have that as much of an impact this time round as he did in the Oh, there's Salas, right? Okay, I'll stop talking about Patrick Vieira and just concentrate on the last 15 minutes of the game. The last 10 minutes is now. Um, yeah, a little bit of a. Oh, there's Ndiaye. He's definitely putting himself about. 5-1 in the end. Big one there. Did something? Anyone? Sloth's manager Rob closes with the prediction there with a 6-0 Devils saying 4-1. So that's another close one as well. Salas getting a goal for Hackers Hunters, a little bit surprising. Dimble more of the same in the second half. If we're looking at Hull's Vikings, less shots on target, same amount of shots, just only 3 on target, but no problems in converting them, and the result was never in doubt, was it?
No, impressive stuff from Tato. So I do like that formation. I think it's daring to kind of use it in this when you're playing against another manager as well. So credit to him for doing that, sticking out there. He might as well, though. It's an exhibition match. It's all about having a bit of fun, seeing what we can do with these players. So yeah, most important thing is no injuries that I can see. And if you look at the Haggis conditions, at half time there's all over 91%. So they were clearly on the beach already.
Yeah, it's possible. And Van Nistelrooy with the 3 goals there, always nice to see someone getting a hat trick. And 5 assists. It's not every time you see that when you've got 5 goals. There's usually 1 or 2 kind of like random tap-ins that doesn't give an assist. But good little friendly game there for the Vikings. Brosek with an assist out from the right hand side. Scott, any any additional comments to the performance of in that second half? Have we lost Scott, or did I not?
He's on mute.
Okay.
I was on mute. Yeah, just pretty much as was the first half, and as has been pretty much Haggis' season. Vieira, their only real player that comes out with any credit. Just going back to the comments that I think you were going to allude to on Vieira about him not being as good as he was last time out. Last season, he practically dragged Ardsley to the playoffs. But I think season 1 of the last iteration, I don't think it was brilliant either, was it?
Yeah, I
So
mean
maybe
that's the
next
thing.
year he might kick on and average 8+ like we all know he can do.
Yeah, good
I
strong
mean,
average
7.7
for him there.
is an
Just
okay average, but only one man of the match, 1 assist. Yeah, you'd
yeah,
want a little bit more
that's
than
what I
that.
was thinking. If he's just putting out 8s, I mean that's also good, but you kind of probably need him to do a little bit better occasionally. Anyway, we'll leave that one. We'll leave this game. That was obviously an interesting one. Next up, we will do Dudley. So that's going to be Mr. Mega Horse is in charge of Dudley Hill, and there is the famous arrow that that everyone
Brilliant.
was waiting to see. Dimble, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, Davids is going to be very, very tired. I'm sure Steve's delighted to see him doing all that running. I like it though; it's good. I like it. Apart from the arrow, I know it does work um, for Dan or Mr. Mega Horse on his home saves, but I don't know if it works on the diagonal because we did try it out the other night on our stream last week and it was a big failure. But in terms of the rest of the team, he's picked good players and put them in the right position. Patrick Hansen getting a run out, which is interesting to see because Steve didn't play him too much. Viduka, I'm surprised to see Viduka in it, but you got 2 kind of big, strong boys up front, so it'd be interesting to see if he's gone direct with Davids doing the bursting in between them. But yeah, it's good. It's been fun to see how he gets on.
Yeah, definitely an interesting formation. I mean, I think Joe Palmer was the last sort of proponent of I won't say random arrows because I'm sure there was method to his madness occasionally at least. But we don't see extreme arrows that often. I think Fifey might have had. Did someone have a backwards arrow? Scott, do you remember if anyone had? Who was it who had a backwards arrow last season?
Yeah, somebody played a forward left centre. I think it was with a backwards arrow. Maybe Craig. Did Craig play it as maybe Raoul?
Yeah, I think I think it was something like that. I think it was something like that. It was a funny one anyway. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it works out for Dudley if Davids can get a run here. And they're up against Asta Athletic, managed tonight by Wooder, and they've gone with yeah, as I mentioned there in the comments, the absolute state of the Super League when when a 4-4-1-1 is considered exotic, and no one bats an eyelid at Davids running from from DMC to a forward role. This is completely different to what Alf would ever have put out. Scott, what do you make of what Wood has come up with here for Ast Athletic for this evening?
I like it. I've used it a little bit on home says, more so years ago before I got heavily involved in the last couple of years. I'm not sure it's going to be strong enough to contain the formations that impact the match engine a little bit more than this will.
Yeah,
No
sometimes.
DMC worries me as well. No DMC worries me.
Yeah, I think it's brave to go without. I recently started testing. Ryan says he's tested a DMC with a backwards arrow to sweep a position. He's doing okay. Yeah, it's brave to play without a DMC. I mean, sometimes we've seen formations without an AMC very, very rarely, but we have seen them. I'm not sure when we last saw a formation without a DMC, and that could obviously be prove a little bit tricky with Davids running forward and and Ronaldo in that gap as well. But we'll see how it works out. I mean, it's obviously. Standard formations, the 4-1-3-2 can work in the Super League or has worked in the Super League, but um, it's interesting. Any of the selections that surprised you? I obviously allowed Wooder to dig deep into the reserves and bring up Silvino because Alf didn't have a single wide player really in the defensive positions. Any of the selections that surprises you, or someone that you think Alf could have made more use of throughout the season, or is it as you'd expected really?
I think collusion has been spoken about quite a lot. If you just have a look at how many appearances he's made, I don't think he's featured as much as
Less than half
um,
the games, and look at his
yeah, maybe would have
stats.
been expected. Vazchuk as well, who is quite impressive, as I don't think he's played at all this season.
No, he's not featured at
He's
all.
not made one single appearance, and he's quite solid. My preference would be to drop Rui Costa into midfield and have maybe a forward at AMC. But apart
Mm.
from that, Del Vecchio as well. But again, the squad's been built for Alf's preference in terms of formation and shape. So it's been tricky for Woodard to probably have to shoe on a few of these people in. I
Yeah.
just noticed that Alf's put in the comments, "Come on, Woodard." I don't know whether that's because he's disgusted with the lineup or whether he's just cheering him on.
I think he's cheering them on. I think they've done. Like, I'm not sure if extensive testing is the right word, but they've definitely had words about this prior to the tactic being submitted. Dimple, how do you see this one going? That was the Asta formation. Do you think Buda can get Shevchenko scoring in that particular formation?
I can't see anything but a home win. That formation and some of those selections are stinking. Wood needs to have a word with himself. So, yeah, home win.
Home win for you. And what do you think? What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I can't look past a home win. 3-0.
Brave predictions here. We've got Duggan saying 5-0. We've got 4-0 to Asta, says Alf. Yeah, El Champino with an away win as well. Greavesy going for a Desmond there. We'll kick it off. We'll kick off the first half and we'll see we'll see how it goes. As Oh, it's an early penalty there. Dudley making the most of that. Alex on the spot to put them 1-0 up. It does look as if Asta's actually had quite a few chances, or at least a lot of possession. And as I say that, it starts going the other way. Guardiola coming forward. No, they are. Astor are creating chances, but a little bit like the standard season, they don't really seem to be putting any of them away. Not a classic by any stretch of the imagination so far. Dudley Hill with a slender 1-0 lead after that penalty. Perucci clipped the feet of Crespo in the area, so and that was about as much action as we could get in the first half. Dimble, your predictions right so far, Dudley Hill. Anything that surprises you, or would you have thought they would have made a little bit more of it, considering that that you fancy them a little bit more than Asta. It seems to be a
Yeah,
little bit
to be
even.
fair, it's been mostly Asta, hasn't it? So yeah, fair play to Wood so far. A few disappointing performances from Dudley, but I'd expect them to do better in the second half. But maybe the flat four in midfield with no DMs is the way to go.
Well, you would be surprised. I think actually, come to think of it, I'm fairly certain that Craig experimented with his famous gammon formation, which I believe could have cost him a playoff spot at some point, where he insisted on playing 4-4-2 for reasons that escape me at the moment. But it was interesting anyway to see how that worked out. I was curious to see how Edgar Davids is doing in terms of his fitness. I don't think he's actually paying attention to that arrow if he's still on 93% fitness. If any of the managers, of course, have any changes that they want to make at halftime, then obviously please feel free to say that in the comments, Mr. Mega Horse. No changes, and we'll see if Wooder says anything once he's seen this. Scott, kind of the same question to you. Doesn't seem as if Dudley Hill have been that convincing in the first half.
No, they haven't. The Asta shapes held up better than I thought it would. Relatively even game, not a massive amount of chances created. Be interesting to see if we can get Shevchenko's shooting boots on, because he's had three chances, and you know what, you'd back him to score 1 out of 3, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it seems to be a little bit of the same problem as Alpha's had with him. I mean, when he's played, he's done okay-ish, but he just hasn't converted. I know I was critical of him repeatedly when he was playing for Valen in the past 2 seasons, and I just think it's a shame that Vasyuk for Rema covered that yellow card, Alf. Yeah, I'm not sure if yellow cards in friendlies actually count, but we'll do that just in case. Or if you mean for this game, yeah. No, I'm not sure if I mean for me, I know people see things differently. For me, Andrei Shevchenko is probably the best striker in the one of the best strikers anyway in the game, and to only get 6 goals out of him in 25 games is a bit of a shame. But we'll see if he can do something in the second half. We saw Van Nistelrooy getting a hat trick in the first game, and we'll see if Asta can get back into this. They've had the chances, but Dudley could obviously turn up the heat as well. I did see Shevchenko's name, but it wasn't in connection with actually scoring, which doesn't surprise me greatly. Yeah, cancelling each other out a little bit. I mean, only 13 minutes to go, and still Asta creating chances, and they are coming forward. There's Shevchenko again, but gets saved this time. Rui Costa having a go. Tomasi gets in the way with a block there. And a save by Peruzzi to round it all off. And yeah, Dimple, Dudley Hill take it 1-0. So your prediction in terms of the result was correct, but I mean a little bit more in Asta's favour in terms of chances, but they just didn't take them on the night. And as you mentioned there, Dudley run out winners. Anything Wood could have done differently? You were a little bit critical of him prior to kickoff.
Well, there's a lot of things he could have done differently, a lot of things he should have done differently, but you can't really argue with the performance. It was okay. It makes me wonder what the Asta boys would have got if they'd have put out a formation that would work against the usual AI. And people like Simon Davis, for me, never really done it. So, I know I've got a lack of wide players in his side, but it does make me wonder what could have done with a few tweaks.
True.
But yeah, but positive stuff from Asta. Positive stuff. Shows they've got a bit of fight in them.
Yeah, definitely, and they do. I mean, I know there was a couple of jokes about I think it was Chris Mack saying that he'd have to replace half the squad when they start retiring. He does have a few guys that have got a few a few years on them, but he also has some decent players, and he has got people in the reserves that could come up. Silvinho, who was brought up for the evening, didn't impress at all, but I don't think Alf's planning on going back to a wide formation anyway. But we'll see. Who knows? And Scott, Astra Athletic, Dudley Hill, Tomasi, man of the match, next to Edgar Davids. Again, no injuries, no serious fitness issues for anyone. Just kind of a steady-ish performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tomasi's probably been up there with their best player since they've brought him in. Very similar formation and team selections to what we've seen from Dudley Hill this season. Yeah, I think once the two lineups were announced, they might have been expecting a little bit more comprehensive result. But actually, they've had to dig deep and get over the line, which is something that Dudley will have actually struggled with this season. So credit to them for that.
Yeah, and Damiano Tomasi relishing that role as the kind of a defensive midfield destroyer there, and thwarting many of the attacks from the Astor side. So a solid performance from him, as you'd expect. Edgar Davids with his running boots on didn't really seem to have had any kind of desired effect. But as Dimple alluded to there in the pre-match comments, they hadn't been a roaring success either in the in the testing. But anyway, great to see. Superfans Mega Horse and kind of manager-ish helper Wooder getting a run out here. So thanks very much, guys, for your input and for taking it so seriously and putting all the thought and effort into it. So that's very, very good. We do have another friendly coming up. We have Dragons against Churchtown, so it's the Swan against Mr. Dimple, who's with us in the studio, of course. So let's go to the Dragons first. Scott, this is the formation that Dragons are playing, and these are the selections. What do you make of that? Mark Kerr in that AMC role. That's a bit of an unusual one, but apart from that, anything that stands out to you? Lee Boyer at right wing back, maybe.
Lee Bowyer, I think you're going to get a consistent 7.5 to 8 no matter where you play him in defensive midfield, attacking midfield. I like the defensive midfield 4. I'm not too sure about Mark Kerr at AMC. I think if you'd have dropped him maybe back into that centre midfield position, it might look a little bit more balanced. D'Alessandro and Seedorf are okay, but again, for me, they're better coming from deeper. But I like the formation. The defensive midfield 4 is solid. I think it's a formation that we've seen have success this season, maybe with a few less arrows. But look, like we've said, it's an exhibition. It's a friendly. We're here for entertainment, and with all those Dragons players bombing forward, you'd expect chances created at both ends of the pitch.
Yeah, it could
Would have
be.
liked to have seen maybe Archie back in that front three somewhere.
Yeah, it could. It could have made sense to put Archie back in there maybe, but he's not really been at the races. I mean, you look at his stats and he looks like a decent enough player, but he just hasn't really delivered so far. But we'll see what they can do tonight. Obviously, Batistuta up there as well, banging in the goals. I think he was the top scorer, with 10, top scorer for the Dragons. Who are the managers here again? Asks Fifey. So it's Champ Swan, Swan Champ. I forget people's real names. I do apologize. But who's in charge of the Dragons? And in charge of the opponents tonight is Mr. Dimple, who's with us here in the studio. So you can talk us through your tactic and your lineup and your considerations. What was your initial impression when you were drawn to have a go at managing Churchtown for the night?
It's not a team that I've kind of followed very closely, so I had to go back on a video and take a screenshot of the squad before he sent through the short video. Mm-hmm. And obviously going off minimal information, like we've not seen the attributes of the players in this save or anything like that. So I obviously had to search through each player, see what they were good at. But so I took it pretty seriously, as I do with most things like this. Probably take it more seriously than I should. But yeah, I'm happy with the squad. I think it does lack a bit of proper quality, but it's not like got any holes in it. It's got quite balanced in a way. There's a few people I've not really played with before as well. So someone like Donati, I'm not sure he'll do any good in that role, but I've had a lot of success with an MC, with a diagonal arrow, in that formation recently. So I thought, why not give it another go? Mm-hmm. I was impressed with how George Boateng looks. He's not one I've had before, but he looked very, very solid. There was a couple of big misses with Lehman out and Okoronkwo. Both got orange injuries, so obviously respecting Kieran's squad, I didn't want to make anyone worse than they already were. So they're sitting out tonight. But yeah, they've got a decent bench as well. I say it's fairly balanced, not overly powerful squad, but fairly balanced and some decent players in there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you look at Kieran's season, I think it went really well in the beginning when Tomadera or whatever his Antonio Lopez or whatever he was called in the beginning, when he was really scoring goals, but that was actually only in the first. I think would I be right in saying that he probably scored about 10 goals in his first like 12 games or something like that, and then it's been a bit downhill since then. Is it is that one of the areas where you're when you're saying lacking quality? I guess that John Terry is okay. Zanetti, Cole, Boateng, as you mentioned, there is strikers. Is that something where you found it the most challenging, or are you quite happy with Tomadera at this level?
I do love Tomadera, and I don't mind Jibble Cisse, but obviously it's a Tomadera that's bang out of form. So yeah, you'd hope for kind of a more quality backup or something else to go in that place. I was surprised with how good Adilson looked. He's not a player I signed regularly, and he looked very tasty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Aymar's played very well. I think he's with him being a marquee player, you'd expect kind of big numbers from him. So it's more that where they've got a couple of big players that are kind of disappointing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
whereas other marquee players have probably stepped up and delivered. But in terms of like Terry, Cole, Zanetti round the back and Boateng, I was happy with all those. They're players that are not going to let you down.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as you mentioned there, Pablo Aimar, he's got 671 average.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's quite shocking for him, but we'll see how he does tonight. Um, predictions in the chat. If anyone, oh yeah, Cooper needs a squad number. He can't have been involved much this season. Predictions in the chat. Scott, what do you think? Dragons or Churchtown for you in this one?
I think this is going to bring goals. I think the way that Dragons have set up with all those players bombing forward, it's going to create chances for Churchtown. On the counter attack, I think if Tomadera turns up, it could be a high scoring draw. If not, I think Dragons might edge it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I can see in the comments there's a bit of love for an away win, a couple of good shouts for a draw there, and yeah, not much love for the home side. I think you're the only Dragon supporter in the house tonight, then Scott. If it, well, maybe supporter is a strong word, but the only one back. And Wooder says, oh, of Wooder, of course, saying that there's going to be a Batistuta hat trick. Either way, we'll kick off the first half and we'll see how it goes as the Swan managed Dragons takes on the Dimble managed Churchtown. Good early chances there for Churchtown coming forward. But it looks as if Dragons are doing a little bit. Wilfried Bauma as well doing a half decent job. We've not seen too much of him this season at all for Dragons. It's a Dielson coming forward now. C. Elias going down the other end. Mark Poom with a save, not the goalkeeper I would necessarily have chosen, but as mentioned, Lehman was unfortunately injured for this one. And it stays 0-0 at half time. Let's see. Fairly even, not the most exciting game, which has been sort of symptomatic of how the playoffs have been involved. That seems to be replicated in these friendlies. Scott, what do you make of Dragons that first half performance? Say Elias doing okay, but it's a very very small amount of passes and not a huge amount of action. Mark getting a 6 in that role. D'Alessandro and Seedorf, they're all getting 6s. Mm, it's a bit
Yeah,
of a tricky one.
complete opposite to how I thought it would pan out. It seems like they're doing an awful lot of running up and down, but not a great deal with the ball when they've got it. I think the attacking midfield three, like you mentioned, are all on 6s. I think for me, all three of them are better in central midfield with an arrow going forward to AMC, which might have meant that they would have got on the ball a little bit more, but then you run the risk of isolating Batistuta up there.
Mm.
So yeah, not an ideal first half performance in terms of entertainment value or ratings from Dragons.
Yeah, it's not been the best. We'll see if their manager for the evening has any comments to make with regards to substitutions. He might want to see Arik back in there. Could be one guy maybe, but I'll leave him to ponder that while we check in with Dimple on the other side of the studio. What do you make of the first half performance? Would have hoped for a little bit more, I guess, in terms of performance.
Yeah, I was expecting more, and I was expecting chances for both sides. It seemed like there was in the commentary, but obviously not. I think we'll come strong second half. I'm still backing us to do something. At least, well, the most the least I'm expecting is to not get embarrassed. So as long as I don't get embarrassed, I'll be happy.
You're not tempted to put on Cisa for Tomadeira, or are you gonna stick with what you've got?
Can you just look at Cisse, please? I'm not seeing what he's done.
9
Yeah, stick him
game.
on. Yeah, stick him on. He's scored a couple.
Well, we'll try and see what Dubro Cisa can do. We do have a substitution for Dragons as well. It is Arik Back coming on for Seedorf, I believe he said. Yep, that is absolutely what's going to happen. Okay, well, we'll kick off the second half and see if either team can break the deadlock here. If we can get a bit of goal action in the second 45. And we can. It's Massimo Donati who opens the scoring for Churchtown, taking a 1-0 lead away at the Dragons in this special friendly match this evening. There's always a chance of the co-commentators curse, obviously, but it seems to have worked out in Dimble's favour so far. Dragons are creating chances though. Donny just picked up a yellow there, back coming forward as well. They could maybe come in with a sucker punch right here at the end, but it looks as if they're holding firm and actually creating a couple of chances on their own. Churchtown, Batistuta was offside, and yeah, nothing doing. Churchtown takes the 1-0 win. So yeah, congratulations with your with your second half performance. I mean, it wasn't your selected substitute that scored, but someone did enough anyway. Zanetti with the assist and Massimo Donati. Looking at the stats of the players, happy enough with how you presented yourself and what the team did for you this evening.
Yeah, definitely. That was fun. I was nervous all the way through that, so I've had a bit of a taste of that watching the Swemp League YouTube videos, like refreshing his page, waiting for them to come on in the Saturday morning. So to do it live is even more kind of nerve wracking. Really enjoyed it though, and I'm happy with my performance. And Donati MC with that arrow, I think was quite a decent call for me. Obviously good rating anyway, loads of key passes. Yeah, happy.
Yeah,
Unlucky to the Swan. I think probably deserved something out of the game, but yeah, happy with that. 1-0.
Yeah, it went
1-0.
well. I mean, I was going to say, apart from the striker situation that we spoke about, prior to the game, both Tomadeira and Caesar picking up a 6 and not really doing anything much in the game, but apart from that, a very very solid display, and yeah, that kind of slight forward arrow for Donati really worked out well. Scott, what do you make of Dragons? I mean, it wasn't a bad performance, but again, as you mentioned in the beginning, maybe the front three weren't really well, I say front three, I actually mean the front four. Maybe the constellation wasn't really ideal for Dragons, with the three AMCs there, and I think everyone else did a half decent job, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, considering the ratings, I think it's a little bit generous. I don't think they've created a great deal. As I sort of alluded to, the back sort of six all did relatively well. The AMC 3 didn't. But credit to Dimble and Churchtown, he's set them up well. I think the back five from Churchtown was solid. I noticed that George Boateng had a fantastic performance at CDM as well, alongside Donati. So yeah, I mean, Dragons have done okay. They've restricted Churchtown to not creating a massive amount, but because I think, for me, the player selection in attacking positions has restricted the amount of chances that they've created themselves.
Yeah, well, I think it was an absolute pleasure to have our three games here with our six fans and regular contributors to the league as well. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. It was very interesting to see a different take on it. We saw a few tactics that we haven't seen as much before, or we haven't seen as often. I appreciate that Chris Max played something very similar to the Hools formation previously, but interesting to see. And obviously, Fifey, a big fan of the diagonal arrow. So Dimble, you've definitely got a supporter there, and congratulations on the win, obviously. And yeah, we'll.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It's like I say, it's really really good, and I know from speaking to a couple of other guys that really kind of appreciate it. So yeah, and the main thing is we've not injured anyone, so all the managers will be fairly happy as well.
Yeah, that was on Ryan and I joint decision to just run it. I mean, we do have. I mean, the advantage of the Australian League is that we do have obviously like 4 or 5 months or something like that in between the end of this season and the start of the next one. So we were kind of quietly convinced that it was going to go okay. So I'm glad it's worked out like that. But anyway, onto the main course this evening, which is obviously our preliminary final between Lokomotiv Boston and Fulchester. And if this one hasn't got goals, goals, goals written all over it, then I don't know what does. What do you what do you reckon, Scott? Lokomotiv Boston and Fulchester. Um, one for the purists.
I think I've been very vocal about my thoughts on this fixture over the last few days. What the fucking hell is that?
Ugh. Oh,
Fucking hell. That can't be right.
It's a charm offensive from Mr. Creeves.
I think we might need to just check that midfield four
yeah.
correctly.
Contra can't be playing there, surely.
Yeah, I think I'll double check that. It does look a little bit.
Do you know what?
Do
you know what's funny? Actually, I played this exact formation last
did
season
you did
against
actually?
Haggis and won 2-0.
Oh, did you?
I beat him 2-0 away from home using that formation. Yeah, with Chudley. But no, I didn't expect that. But look, Greaves is set up to keep a clean sheet. Ultimately, I think he's probably dropped a couple of his attacking players because they've not scored a great deal of goals lately. And I think he's putting a lot of faith that if they get a chance, Inzaghi will nick one. In terms of the players in there, all the players fit right. There's an awful lot of defensive players in there. Decor, Contra, even those players in the midfield positions are defensive. Ricardinho's been fantastic all season. Contra's also been very good. That midfield three is solid. And obviously those two centre-backs and Bartas have been probably the best centre-back and goalkeeper partnership in the league alongside Fulchester.
Yeah,
interesting, extremely interesting.
It's going to be difficult to break down possibly. I mean, I've obviously put the players in the right positions now. I think when I don't know, maybe we can have a quick chat about it actually, because see, when I set out the teams, I don't drag, I press the things, yeah. So when I set out the midfield, so let's undo these. So when I said I don't drag the positions, I just click midfielder left, midfielder right, and I must have just done it in the wrong order. Is that how everyone does it? Anyway, that's probably what caused the error, that I've clicked them in the wrong order. But anyway, Dimble, what do you make of this? Has he just said, well, we're not going to score anyway, so we're just going to put like 40 people behind the ball? Or what do you think the logic is behind that?
It does appear that way. I'm hoping he's got some more adventurous kind of player instructions within that. Yeah, it's not the most exciting looking lineup, but if it gets the job done, that's all Greaves will be bothered about. And we know he's got a good record of doing that. Sitting back and the Catenaccio, the sitting back and countering has never worked for me on the game. So if Greaves can get that working for him at this level, then fair play to him. He deserves all the credit, because I imagine if the other 13 managers in the league try to do that, they'd probably fail miserably. So yeah, I think best of luck to him. I hope for the entertainment value that Fulchester get through to the final.
I think
Greaves is obviously the man at doing this. So yeah, obviously if he does it, he deserves it, 100%.
Yeah, Fifey just reminding us that he played zero up. He played with zero strikers once. That's true. So, sorry, Scott, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that if Boston don't score first, or if Fulchester score, it's done. It's game over. But that's not a formation where you can chase the game. That's a formation where you get a goal and you're going to sit back and hold on to it.
Yeah, it could be a little bit like his previous game, the Leddersford game there, where he ended up chasing it and didn't really have the options because he'd already gone with sort of a defensive-ish substitution or change at that point. But we'll see how it works out.
Just one thing to note, that Cannavaro and Decor are both a yellow card away from suspension if they were to qualify.
Oh yeah, if they do get through to the final, that would mean no Cannavaro or no Dacour, which are probably his two best outfield players, apart from Ricardinho maybe. So yeah, well, it'll be it'll be interesting. Reinstall me in the playoffs right now. The fans deserve better, says Fifey. Well, we can argue about that, but it's 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 and strangely, Fulchester are another team who've not really conceded many goals, but they're not set up particularly defensively. Dimple, what do you make of this lineup? He's obviously forced into a couple of changes with Finnan injured and Rivaldo suspended. We've got Scholes coming in instead, and Ocken on that right hand side. What do you make of the Fulchester lineup?
Yeah, I think Steve Wright's love child, Stephen's not a massive loss for Macca. I know he's not. I think he probably prefers the other options that he's got. In terms of the formation, it's one I played a lot myself on network games and stuff like that. So I know it does work against human opposition, and I think it's very well balanced. I think the key is getting the ball to Giggs, but making the tackles, getting the ball to Giggs. That's the kind of key for this working, in my opinion. And it'd be interesting to see if it can break down that very, very stubborn looking locomotive team. So hopefully, again, Mac has got some wizardry up his sleeves with the player instructions, because I think he might need it.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Ryan says no Saviola, miserable or not, he should be starting. Scott, where do you stand on that? Should an angry, upset Saviola be starting over any of the front three? Do you think?
Yeah, I've just dropped a comment actually because I think I was a little bit behind in the comments, wondering why Saviola wasn't playing. Yeah, for me, I would have Saviola up front alongside Vasiliuk instead of Luizao. My personal preference, but look, Maka knows what he's doing. It might not look defensive, but they'll be extremely hard to break down, as they have been all season, as his Panathinaikos side were last season. They always just find a way to win. I think if they nick an early goal here, then it'll be relatively comfortable. The longer it goes, I think the more you might edge towards an Inzaghi marginal offside VAR 1-0 90th minute.
Yeah, well, we'll have a look at how it goes tonight. Obviously, predictions. Does anyone in the studio or in the comments predict anything other than a 0-0 after 90 minutes?
Not for me. Nil
No.
all the way.
I'm going to be an optimist and say, yeah, I think Fulchester get a goal in the first half and then probably stretch the lead, and I think there'll be a bit of a fight back. So I'd go 2-1 away win. That would be my prediction for this. And I think Scott made a good point a minute ago where he said the first goal is so important because it's not like a game where you're controlling it. You can't change the formation. So if they go down, they're stuck with that mentality and that formation. So yeah, it's a big thing, that first goal.
Yeah, I mean, all of the predictions are low scoring so far, apart from Alf, who says 0-0 match to last until midnight. If it goes to penalties, it'll be 101 to 100 from Maka. So let's see the wrong best on long shots, for fuck's sake. The wrong best be on long shots. Oh, okay, I thought Five was just making a statement about Verong's long shot capabilities. Anyway, we'll do the first half on normal speed, and then we'll slow it down for the second, and we'll see how it goes. Let's kick this one off. See if Lokomotiv Boston or Fulchester can do something to shatter the reputation of being extremely boring. But let's have a look. We are 5 minutes in, and there's actually already been a couple of chances for both sides actually. 15 minutes in now, and the chances keep coming. 30 minutes in, and there are some chances. 40 minutes in, and there's been a couple of chances. And it's Cosmin Contra, of all people, on the stroke of half time, who gives Lokomotiv Boston the league. I was just about to be extremely critical about that first half. We have obviously had 3 shots for either side, which has not been the worst, and we've actually had one on target as well, and it has gone in. and it's Cosmin Contra of all people. How did that? That's a very, very short bar on that right hand side. Overmars with a cross to the far post, and Contra collected the ball from one wing to the other. Lokomotiv Boston take the lead. Scott, you mentioned you beat Haggis, Hunters, or Midlothian as they perhaps were at the time, 2-0 with this formation. Um, it's worked out okay for Greavesy and the boys so far.
Yeah, I think Fulchester are a side that don't always create a massive amount of chances. They always set up to defend well and be strong. It's not been a great spectacle. I don't think any of us expected it to be, but it is only half time. Fulchester have got some extremely attacking players on the pitch, some quality players, Veron, Giggs, and such like, who have all had very good seasons. So it's not over just yet, but make no mistake, Boston are going to be extremely hard to break down this second half.
Yeah, Fabian Barthez doesn't normally give away many goals, and especially not when they've already taken the lead. Not looking great for Fulchester so far. Maybe the decision to include Paul Scholes over Saviola has not really paid off. He's on a 5. Dimble, where do they need to improve Fulchester if they're going to come back into this and find their way into the final?
Scholes is a myth, in my opinion. Never get on with the guy. And in terms of where do they need to improve, I mean, I honestly don't know where they can go from here. We've seen this before, haven't we? And it's not likely to end well for Fulchester. They just need to get a bit lucky, I think. They've not created hardly any chances in the first half. They need to do what Greavesy does, and when they do get that one shot on target, that 2 shots on target, they need to convert it. I think Greavesy must have the highest shots on target to goals ratio across the league. It's ridiculous, his conversion rate. I would be surprised if Maka doesn't make a change just to kind of freshen it up. So I don't know. I've not got the comments in front of me, but
He's actually asked for Michael Owen to come on for Paul Scholes. I'm not sure.
yeah,
Don't think he could have really done. I mean, he's got the Victorino guy, but he's not really featured. So he's going to go with Owen to come on for Paul Scholes and see if that can make a difference. Michael Owen, I mean, he doesn't really work up front, but perhaps he can. Perhaps he does it in the NMC role with an arrow forward. Yeah, both of you, what do you think? Second half prediction, Scott, can Fulchester get back into this?
It's going to be tough. I think they're gonna. Boston will hold it out. I think
Boston to hold it out. Dimble, what do you
hold it
reckon?
out.
Yeah, it's hard to see past that, but I'm hoping Fulchester can nick a goal and we'll have 120 minutes of it, followed by penalties, and it'll be 1-0 after 5 penalties each to Greavesy.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out in the second half. Obviously, second half being played on a slightly lower speed to give us a chance to enjoy some of the action that we're about to see. Mark Overmars coming forward there with a cross into Ricardinho, who couldn't capitalize on that. Now it's down at the other end. Michael Owen already involved. 2, 3 times free kicks have been given against him already. Maybe that's a sign of things to come. Maybe Michael Owen is the key to unlock the substantial Lokomotiv Boston defense. Carsten Ramelov now coming forward a little bit. I think again Owen was involved in a free kick situation there. Overmars with the dangerous cross. He's like a kind of could be in trouble here. Just a yellow card for eyeballing. I was gonna say he's a bit of a poor man's Ryan Giggs, really, isn't he? Overmars. He has done a pretty good job for Lokomotiv Boston though this season. Not been spectacular, but none of the players really have been. But here is Ryan Giggs with a cross. It
There you
was
go.
Ryan Giggs. You mentioned it, Dimble, there in the beginning. If Ryan Giggs can start to do something, then that can really change things for Fulchester. And it's Luis Sao who equalises there. Okan now going past Mark Overmars, bit of an unfancied right hand side player that they've got there, Fulchester in Okan, and it's getting exciting now with just 10 minutes to go. Ricardinho was caught offside there. Bit of pushing going on in the midfield. It looks as if Boston had a couple of chances there. Petit coming forward, Lauerson, Cannavaro, defenders involved for some reason, and Dakur ends up running offside. I mean, I was going to say it seems to be all the central defenders or central defensive midfielders involved for Lokomotiv Boston, but that's basically his entire squad. So no surprises there that they are involved. It's Dakur trips Owen, and I thought there was going to be a dangerous free kick coming out of that. They do have it wrong, but
Owen's had a big influence on this second half.
he definitely has. He's definitely been end of 90 minutes. Oof. On we go. Away goals in a one-off. No, Steve. There's no away goals in this one. We go to golden goal, and that's worked out well for Fulchester in the past. Both keepers not really doing particularly well. Um, let's have a look at the Fulchester stat. Michael Owen has done a half decent job. He's come in there. He's won a tackle. He's even won a header. We mentioned there Ryan Giggs, obviously with the cross. Dimble, what do you make? Fulchester. You said it before. You were hoping Fulchester could sneak one and we could get on to 120 minutes of intense action and penalties. Chris Mack's got to be sweating a little bit, but happy enough that he's pulled one back and taken it into to added time.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably thinking it's going to just prolong the experience of what is the inevitable. But Owen's subs made a difference. I think I said they needed to get lucky, and if they got one shot, put it away, and that's what they did. I can't see any goals coming in this extra time period, so I think we could be booking ourselves up for some penalty shootout action.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We've not had I don't think we've had a penalty shootout in the Super League that I can remember anyway. So hope both managers are here, obviously, to pick their penalty takers. I think we'll limit it to the first six, and then we'll see how it goes. And then with Lokomotiv Boston, Scott, they just couldn't hold on. I mean, only one chance for Fulchester. Well, one on target for Fulchester, but they converted it. Um, what's he got to hope for? Are both teams just hoping for another soccer punch? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight and nervy, and it's going to play out as a 1-1. I think, like Dimble says, I completely agree. I think it'll probably go to penalties. I think Greavesy has set up to play the game exactly how it was played without the goal that Fulchester got second half. But I also think he'll still be disappointed to only have had one shot on target in 90 minutes
Mm-hmm.
from his right full back playing in midfield. I think he will have wanted to get Inzaghi involved a little bit more. But absolute credit to Maka for getting back into that because, to break down that wall of 10 will have been tough. I don't think Maka will have fancied his chances second half. Good substitution. Owen came on and influenced the second half a lot. He drew a lot of fouls, won a lot of free kicks. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's
he said
see.
he mentioned Effenberg on for someone. Where was it again? Effenberg on for Kiel, please. Doesn't have Effenberg in his lineup, and I have checked. He's not meant to be there, so we're going to see Matt Holland instead coming on for Sebastian Kiel there. Maka, any substitutions for you? I don't know why I asked if he was actually here. Sorry, I'll see if Chris Mack wants to make any.
Max says to stay as is. Just
Oh, did he?
Tato's just noted that if Boston do get through, the quarter miss the final.
Oh yeah, that's stay as is. Okay, that's fine. Right. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's crack on. See the second half. This worked out very well for Chris Mack the last time out. I think was it Veron with a girl very early on in the extra time. So let's have a look. Yeah, well, I'm getting nervous now. Let's have a look and see who can get out of this with a win, or if we're gonna go into penalties. There's Matt Holland, early doors. I think it
Is
is.
it golden goal again?
Yeah, it's golden goal. I'm sure it's golden goal in all the rounds. So nervous times. 97 minutes. Ricardinho, Contra coming forward now. Ocken down the other end is Veron. Could Veron be the man with another golden goal? It doesn't look like it right now. It's Lokomotiv Boston coming forward. Contra goes down, but tripped him. Free kick for Lokomotiv. Let's see if anything comes of this. Ricardinho delivers it into the box. Insaki's there, but no goals. Another 3 minutes left of the first half. Very, very solid defensive displays. Claims for a penalty. The referee says no. Waves away the protests and nothing from the linesman. Oof, penalty claim. Penalty claim turned down. No match report available. That's weird how that does that. Let's see, plenty of free kicks. Most of them are related to offsides. Fulchester, I'll give both managers another chance if they want to make a substitution here. Maybe they want a penalty taker on or something. I don't know. I think we're just going to leave it at that. I'll just see if Chris Mack says if he wants any substitutions, and the same for Greavesy. Gentlemen, if you want, now's the time to do it. If not, then you can start thinking about your penalty takers. Penalties, what do you say, guys? Is it going to go to penalties, or do you think there'll be a winner? Inzaghi with a late surge.
I'd never rule it out. No, I'd never rule it out, but it's very unlikely at this stage. I think players getting tired as well. I don't know if that'll mean the quality will drop and some gaps will open up, but it usually means they're just not putting as much effort in. So, yeah, I can't see it. What do you think, Scott?
I think there's more likely to be a goal because it's golden goal rather than if there wasn't, if you know what I mean. I think it was just straight 30 minutes, it would have just played out pretty dull. But that added a little bit of drama. There could be a goal. I think if there is a goal, Fulchester will like the side getting one.
Well, we'll see what happens. We've got the Proton coming on for Fulchester, and we've got Gustavo Lopez coming on for Lokomotiv Boston here. So we'll see if we'll see what happens in the last 15. Hope you're ready, guys. Let's see if either of those guys can make a difference. First 5 minutes are gone already. 6, 7, 8, 9. Biscan takes on Overmars. Proton moved too soon. It was an offside. Overmars comes forward. Gustavo Lopez onto the header of Inzaghi. That's where you wanted it to be, but unfortunately for Boston, he could not convert. Gustavo Lopez has a goal from long range. Another penalty claim turned down. 2 penalty claims turned down for Lokomotiv Boston. Let's see if they're going to get penalties. Could be just about to happen if Luisao hits the bar for Fulchester. I mean, it's all go here, and it's 120 minutes gone, and we are straight into penalties. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Chris Mack, I'll leave this up first, and Chris Mack, you can list your first 5 or 6, let's say 6 penalty takers, and or you can just say just leave it. It's up to you. And then we'll decide. And I'll give you the option first. Greaves, so you can start pondering as well. Obviously, if you already know who you want to take penalties, you can just list it there. So if you can do that, and yeah, that'll be very interesting. Scott, who would you have on penalties for Fulchester?
Veron, Giggs, Vasiliuk, Owen, Prutton, and Biscan.
Has he got Proton in there? He hasn't. Oh, he's got Proton on 4. Chris Mack says Luisao for penalty number 3. Rest is C'est la vie. So he's got Veron opening. That makes sense. Vasiliuk is probably okay as well. Luisao with the 3rd one. Proton with the 4th, and Nicky Butt to finish it off. And he wants Biscan on number 6. So we'll do that. Okay, if you're happy with that, Maka, then we can run with this. If not, we'll come back to it. Oh no, we won't actually. I've pressed OK, so we might not want to come back to that. Don't think that's how it works. Anyway, Greavesy, your turn. We've had 1 penalties before in season 2 or 3. 5, he says. Gigs 5. I mean, I've clicked OK now. You said C'est la vie. Rest is C'est la vie, and then you start coming. I don't know if I can go back. If we can go back, then maybe. I don't know. Can I press cancel from here? I don't know how this works. I can go into Fulchester, and then I can do. What did he want? Gigs on number 5. Right. Okay. And Greaves says keeps as is. That's a brave one. Contra with the 5th one. I mean, he doesn't have any bad players in there.
If this goes as it would for me in my own games, Giggs is nailed on cert for missing the 5th penalty.
Well, we'll see if that happens. And Luisao on penalty. Yeah, I have put Luisao on penalty number 3, Maka. Haven't I? Oh no, he's gone away again. Oh gosh.
I think it cancelled.
It cancels it all out. Okay. And Biscan on number 6, wasn't it? Right, okay, Maka Pence have reset. Biscan on 6. Right, okay. Biscan on 6, Giggs on 5, Luisao on 3. That's it, isn't it? And the rest is C'est La Vie. Yeah, that's how it goes. I'm bored of this now. Right, guys, predictions. Bartes or whoever the Fulchester keeper is that I've forgotten.
I'm going to
Buffon.
go
Sorry,
Fulchester,
Bartes or Buffon.
Fulchester 3-1.
Fulchester 3-1. Dimble.
Very, very tough to call. I'm going to back Fulchester. Go for it. Come on, lads.
Right, well, let's see how slow we can make this. Ops Despetit to take the spot kick. Save! Buffon saves the first one. Oof, Buffon to save a couple here. Here comes Miron, and it's a goal for Fulchester. Fulchester go 1-0 up. We've got the next penalty for Lokomotiv Boston coming. And it's got to be Inzaghi. He's got to score this one, hasn't he? Yeah, it's a goal for Lokomotiv Boston. Who have we got next for Fulchester? Who was the second penalty taker? I've forgotten that, actually. Vasiliuk it was. Could maybe score. Yeah, he does make it 2-1 Fulchester. And then we have got Lokomotiv Boston again. And it's Karsten Ramalov to take the penalty. Lokomotiv Boston getting the goal there. Still just that one save so far. And it's Luisao, especially picked for the third penalty taker. And he delivers for his manager. Fulchester are now 3-2 up. Next up for Lokomotiv Boston is Mark Overmars. Should have scored, shouldn't he really? Yeah, he does. 3 goals for Lokomotiv Boston now. Fulchester have 2 penalties left. If they can score these 2, they are home and dry. We'll see. David Prutton should be nailed on according to Wooder, but Bartes saves it. Thanks, Wooder. I'm sure that
Shout,
Maka
Wooder.
will thank you. And here comes Contra, and he scores. It's
Oh, fucking hell.
4-3 Lokomotiv Boston. That means that Ryan Giggs has to score. What did you say, Dimble?
Fuck's sake.
Oh, shit.
Gutted that I'm right, but
Dimble calls it. Giggs nailed on to miss the final penalty. Commiserations, Marker. That's unfortunately how it ends sometimes. Fulchester go out after penalties. Lokomotiv Boston go into the final where they will take on Leddersford. I mean, that was quite exciting, wasn't it, guys? What do you make of that one, Scott? Exciting final? Or preliminary final, rather?
Yeah, the game wasn't. Well, the game sort of panned out as we expected in terms of it being tight and not a massive amount of chances. It's just fucking heartbreaking to lose on penalties.
Yeah, well, it's that's how it goes sometimes. I mean, it is like you say, it's almost like a lottery, isn't it? Dimble, you called it. What made you so convinced that Ryan Giggs would miss the fifth penalty? Is that just based on experience?
just on personal experience. If I start fiddling with penalties taken numbers and things like that, it usually means the person that I've specified to take the 5th penalty will miss. So yeah, I'm gutted that I'm right for Maka because yeah, it's a very, very sore way to lose, and it just kind of sums up the way Greaves' season's been going. Everything he touches turns to shithouse gold.
Well, he's certainly the shithousen expert of the league, but he'll take it. He's into the final, and yeah, where he'll take on Leddersford, and we'll see how it goes there. He's obviously got a couple of yellow cards too. Oh, he had one, so he'll probably be without Dacour. I think he won't be featuring in the final, but it'll be interesting to see who gets there. So let's have a look at the fixtures. Oh, well, it won't say yet, but either way, it'll be Boston in the final against Leddersford, obviously. Your predictions for this one, gentlemen? Leddersford or Lokomotiv Boston. A lot is made of whether anyone outside of the top 2 can sort of get in and actually win the final. I'm not sure if we agreed that anyone has ever done that in the past, and this season obviously is not going to be the case. But who do you fancy? Leddersford, obviously, form side, recently beat Lokomotiv Boston to set up the preliminary final. Dimble, who do you think is gonna run away with it in the grand final?
Yeah, I think you call on the top 2 making it to the final or winning it every season so far. I think Fifey confirmed that was true when I was speaking to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not surprised to see the top 2 in the final again. How it should go, it should be Leddersford winning it because I think they're the team in better form. I think I think Boston have kind of scratched and clawed their way to the final, so he wouldn't rule them out at all. No one would rule them out, but it should go to Leddersford in my opinion.
And Scott, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, personal preference. I hope Leddersford win it. Support my local team, if you like. I think they've been involved in extremely entertaining games this season. They've played attacking football. They've tried to score goals. They've got a lot of players that I like, and I just hope that it's one shithouse too far for Greaves.
Well, he's not going to be the most popular champion, is he? If if he does another shithousery thing, but I mean, maybe sometimes you need it.
How many days rest is it till the final? That might play a part because obviously they played 120 minutes in an extra game, and also got the core out, so those things could play into it as well.
Yeah, I mean the core being out is definitely a thing. They've got a full week to recover, so I don't think there should be any problems in terms of fitness. But obviously the missing Dacour is going to be a huge one, but they did well this evening. I mean, they did well. The actual players that came in or that played alongside Oliver Dacour this evening for Lokomotiv Boston. So I'm sure they'll make the most of it. Interesting to see if we'll see a similar defensive display in terms of the formation, or if he's going to go a little bit more attacking. Interesting to see what Hodgie's going to come up with as well. But I'm sure that both managers will do theirs to contribute to the speculations on Twitter over the next couple of days. As I mentioned there in the comments, we're going to do the final on Wednesday. For those old enough to remember, that's when the Champions League final usually was played, was actually on a Wednesday night back in the day. And we're going to do the same here, not only because it's tradition, but also because it's my birthday next Sunday. And as much as I love you guys in the Super League, I have no intention of of looking at flashing text to celebrate. So that's it. Will Torres be back, Martin? I don't know. Will he? Let's ask him. Fernando Torres, where are you? He's out for a few days, so yes, provided that the 27th to the 4th is more than a few days, then yes, he will definitely play or be
Martin,
able to
can we
play in
have
the
a
final.
look at the previous two fixtures between the two teams?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they played very, very recently, didn't they? These ones here, or the ones
Yeah,
during
I
the
mean,
season?
I just interested to see how the ones during the season how they panned out.
Right, so these ones are fresh in our memory. So this was the insane one where Haji got half of his team sent off. So that's obviously probably the main reason they lost that one. Ricardinho doing a good job there as well. Lokomotiv Boston.
That's a shithouse result. The fact that they played 8 men and still only won 2-0.
Yeah, I mean they were setting off towards the end, but yeah, still, I mean that they had 20 minutes against 8 men and they didn't
And
score
then was
anymore.
a penalty. Fucking hell.
Yeah. So yeah, a bit of a shit house there, but again, a defensive formation, and I think Leddersford played something very similar to what we saw early on in the friendly from Dragons, wasn't it? With this formation, that was that one, and then very early on in the season, it was a 1-1 draw in the first game of the season. Lokomotiv Boston, who were uncharacteristically attacking in that game, and Leddersford with the formation that we saw Hack is actually playing earlier this evening. I think that didn't work out well for them. I mean, a decent display from Leddersford, and they were perhaps a little bit unlucky not to get the win against Boston. So they were shithousing a little bit in that game as well. So yeah, they are experts at grinding out the results. You would
Yeah, look,
suggest.
all joking aside, massive credit to Greaves for the way that he's just ground out result after result. You know, it's not at times been pretty to watch, but he's done enough to, firstly, to get in the top two, and then secondly, to make sure he got in the final. So once you get there, you give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
I
That's
just hope Leddersford beat him.
you don't want it to be what?
I said I just hope Leddersford win.
Oh, right. Okay. You hope Leathersford win. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Cheers, Martin. No bluffing there, says Hachi. Well, Ryan asked, and I was too quick on actually clicking. I'll I'll leave the surprises for now then. with that, I mean, we managed to stretch this to almost an hour and a half. We do well, don't we? With just 4 games to actually play. I mean, we can blame it on the penalties, etc. I would just like to say thank you very much, first of all, to the 6 managers who took part, and especially to Dimble for jumping on comms as well. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and
Yeah, definitely. Cheers, mate. Thank
yeah,
you.
and great to have such a big contribution from the guys who aren't actually the day-to-day managers. It's really great to see, and it makes it kind of worthwhile sort of giving up your evenings that all you guys are involved and enjoying it as well. And thanks to you, Scott. Hopefully we'll see you back in the new season with another go at it for Bostock Stanley, and maybe you can make up the 2 points that you fell short this season with your endeavors next year. You got any? I mean, I know we shouldn't talk about specific transfers, but have you got any surprises planned for us, or anything in the pipeline already?
Yeah, there's been some negotiations take place over the last few days, just early stages since I got knocked out. But obviously, because the season's ongoing and the window's not open yet, none of that can or will be disclosed until after the final and ultimately when we get approval. We
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to
Well,
be
we'll
upset in the
we'll
hierarchy.
we'll keep it quiet for now, and we'll be look forward to the Super League account manager inbox exploding at 10:15 or whenever on Wednesday evening with all the transfer requests. We'll see. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. Thank you to everyone who watched along out there, and thank you to Scott and to Dimple for your contribution this evening. It was a pleasure as always to have a go at the Super League, and we'll hopefully hear and see you all again on Wednesday night for the grand final as Leddersford take on Lokomotiv Boston. With that, good night, Scott. Good night, Dimble. Good night, everyone out there. Thank you very
Cheers,
much
guys. See
for
you later.
watching.
Cheers, mate.
Take care. Good night.